And the problem, if you'd had a referendum, is that if people had voted no to the transfer of sovereignty, if that had been the outcome, what would you have done? Because the lease ran out in 1997. But it was a good question, which Emily Lau used to argue regularly, and British ministers. It was the best question. Hated her for doing it. Or she didn't quite ask it in terms of a referendum. Let me tell you one story. I was visiting a hospital for the mentally ill not long before I left Hong Kong, in the New Territories, and it was a very old structure with different wards in sort of the equivalent of Nissen huts, with wire around them to keep the patients in each ward. And I'm walking down the middle, and there's a very, very well-dressed Chinese guy who's calling from behind one of these wire fences. Governor Patton, could you come over and talk to me? And to the horror of my sort of comet's tail of officials, I walk over and talk to him. I mean, you know, it was interesting that this guy in a three-piece suit in a mental hospital, and he's self-confident enough to want to talk to the governor. So I walk across, and he says some complimentary things, and then he says, I just want to ask you one question, Governor. He said, Britain says it's the oldest democracy in the world. So I said, yes, it's sometimes claimed. And he said, China is the last great communist power in the world, authoritarian power. And I say, yes. And he said, could you therefore explain to me how it is that Britain, the democracy, is handing over Hong Kong to an authoritarian power without consulting the people of Hong Kong, without giving them any choice? And I was getting into the car coming back, and one of my officials said to me, "It's extraordinary, isn't it?" He said that the man with the sanest question in Hong Kong is in a mental hospital. It was unfair.